Today's daily code problem of the day is make string a subsequence using cyclic increments number 2825. For this problem, we are given a zero index string, string 1, and string 2. In one operation, you can select a set of indices within string 1, and for each index I in a set, we're going to increment string 1 of I to the next character cyclically. That is, A becomes B, B becomes C, so on, until we get to Z, where Z becomes A. We want to return true if it is possible to make string 2 a subsequence of string 1 by performing the operation at most one time, and false otherwise. As a note, we have a subsequence is a string that is formed from the original string by deleting some, possibly none, of the characters, without disturbing the relative positions of the remaining characters. So we can remove some characters or none of the characters, but we do not want to disturb the relative positions of the remaining characters, meaning that we want to keep all the characters in their same-ish spots. So we can look at a couple of examples here. Let me get my epic pen. So in example 1, we see that string 1 is equal to ABC, string 2 is equal to AD. We want to make some form of subsequence of string 1 equal to AD. So we can do this because we can select index 2 in our string 1, or 0, 1, 2, and increment string 1 of 2 to become D. So C will become D. Hence, string 1 becomes ABD, and string 2 is now a subsequence, therefore it is true. This means that we simply remove B, C becomes D, and AD is the subsequence that we're looking for. So, seems simple enough. We can look at example 2 here. String 1 is equal to ZC, string 2 is equal to AD. It is true because we can select indices 0 and 1, both indices of our string 1, increment string 0 to become A, and string C to become D, and we get our subsequence AD. So we can perform each operation to each character one time. So if we look here at example 3, we'll see that it's false because neither of these characters can increment a single time to get D. B would turn into C, A would turn into B. We don't have any way to get D in one operation. So taking that into consideration, let's think about our approach. This problem is about checking compatibility between the characters of string 1 and string 2 while considering a cyclic increment. So here's our plan. We're going to use one pointer for string 1 and another pointer for string 2, traversing both strings. We're going to do some character matching. So we're going to check if our current character in string 1 matches the corresponding character in string 2. If not, we will check if incrementing the string 1 character cyclically makes it a match. So if we can match all the characters in string 2 while maintaining their relative order in string 1, we will return true. Otherwise, we will return false. So let's go ahead and dive into this code and see how it works. We're first going to have an integer called string 2 index. This is going to be our string 2 index. It's going to traverse our string 2. So I'm going to simply shorten it to I2 is equal to 0. And then we're going to have an integer called length of string 1. We can leave it as length 1 is equal to str1.length. And then we're also going to have length 2 be equal to str2.length. We have to use our parentheses here because it is a function for a string, not an array. Now we're going to traverse through both strings using our for loop and check if the characters match. So for we're going to have an integer I1. It's going to be equal to 0. As long as our I1 is less than our length 1, and our I2 is less than our length 2, then we are going to increment our I1. So I1 will increment. Then we're going to check if our characters match or if the string 1 of our I1 can be incremented to be equal to our string 2 of I2. So if string 1 dot char at I1 is equal to string 2.char at I2. So that's our first case scenario. The character in string 1 is equal to the character in string 2. Or if our string 1.character at I1 plus 1, so we're going to increment it 1 character forward. This is checking basically to make sure that, hold on, sorry. This is checking to cyclically increment it, meaning if it's A, it'll turn to B. If it's B, it'll turn into C. So plus 1 is equal to str2.char at I2. Basically checking if incrementing our current character in string 1 by 1 character will make it equal to the character of string 2. Or what we're going to do, the last case scenario we need to check is if it's Z going to A. So we need to check if string 1 is equal to Z. str1.char at I1 minus 25 is equal to str2.char at I2, meaning like we have a Z and that Z goes to an A. If any of those cases are true, a match is found. So we can move on to the next character in string 2. So I2 will increment. Otherwise, if none of those return true, we can return I2 is equal to length 2. So if I2 ends up reaching length 2, meaning we reached the end of string 2 and found matches for all of them, then we can return true. Otherwise, we will return false. This works because if I2 is on, let's say, this character, that is index 1, right? Because it's 0 index. So 0, 1. If it found a match for that ending index, it will increment again, leaving it at 2. Because length is 1 indexed, length 2 will be equal to 2. I2, if reaching the end of the string and finding matches for all the characters, will be equal to 2 as well. So if we run this, passes our test cases, and if we submit it, it passes all solutions. Thank you, and follow more daily LeetCode solutions. Check out the links in my bio if you want to learn how to code today.